Hello, my name is Bob Zolke. Some of you watching this might know me as Sportsman Z. I have a sports channel where I play, board sports replay games, and I do NFL picks during the NFL season. And the name of the channel is Sportsman Z. But this is my other channel that I'm starting. We are going to discuss my cancer journey, starting with the background of it. And we'll also discuss throughout the course of, these videos that I put up, other health-related issues that I have, in addition to stage 4 rectal cancer. So with that having been said, let's get on with the background of this. I was diagnosed with stage 4 rectal cancer back in July of 2022. And the way that it was found to be rectal cancer was that I had a colonoscopy. Now, the colonoscopy only found 3 polyps in my colon, but outside of my colon, in my rectum, they did see a cancerous lump. So that's when I went to see a oncologist about the cancer. And they ran several tests, and I had MRIs and CT scans, and it was determined that I had stage 4 rectal cancer because I not only had the cancerous lump in my rectum, but I also had small cancerous nodules in my lungs. So that's what I was diagnosed with back in 2022. So since then, I began chemotherapy. Now, at first, it was aggressive. It was real aggressive chemotherapy. And it caused neuropathy in my fingers and my toes, which to this day I still have. But it also caused other things. I would sweat profusely right after the treatments. I had to have a pump hooked up to me for like a day and a half after the office visit. Every other week. I had treatments every other week. And it was very aggressive, and it was really, it wore me down. Anyway, that lasted for probably like 3 years, 3 years, until earlier this year. Now, what happened earlier this year, I got sick, and we will discuss that in another video. I got sick unrelated to the cancer. And I was in a hospital for 2 weeks and then in a rehab center for a month. And over that 6 weeks, I was, I was being treated. I was going through rehab, but I was not going through any chemotherapy. And so, but my oncologist was informed about, the fact that I was sick and that I was in the hospital, and he was, worried about my health, and he was also worried about the me not being on chemo, but he was on board with it because up until that point, my cancer had been shrinking. It had shrunk. I'm not sure whether it's centimeters or millimeters or what the measurement is, but it started out at something like a 29, and it shrunk all the way down to like a 5, maybe a 4, maybe a 3.6. It shrunk from something like 29 or 30 all the way down to 3.6. So he was okay with me being in the hospital and not getting chemo during the time that I was sick with the other ailment. So I got out of that in, I think it was August of this year, August of 2025. And then I went back to see the oncologist. He ran some more tests, and he found out through running the tests that although the tumor in my rectum had gotten bigger, it had only gotten a little bigger. It went to like a 5 from a 3.6 to a 5 with no treatments for 6 weeks. Nothing for 6 weeks. So that wasn't a lot of growth. And so what he did from that point on is he put me on chemo pills. And he said, you don't have to come into the office, at least not for the time being. We won't have you in the office for, whatever it was, like 3 hours of chemo and then hooking up to the pump. You can just do the pills. Now, he also gave me the option of not doing any chemo, not doing anything. But my wife and I both figured, no, that's probably not a great idea. So we opted for the chemo pills. And ever since then, I have just been on chemo pills. And also I want to say that about the rectal cancer, the rectal mass, that went from 5 to 3.6. But the nodules in my lungs didn't multiply, and they didn't get any bigger. So that's also part of the reason why I am on the chemo pills. So here we are in December of 2025, heading into 2026. I have cancer, but it hasn't been a big problem. I've had it for 3 years now, and the treatments and the way that I have been handling it with my doctors, with my doctor signing off on it, it has shrunk to a manageable size, and it hasn't gotten much bigger. So I will go back and see the oncologist in the second week in January, because he's off like the first week. Also, my old oncologist, unfortunately, is leaving the practice, and he's turning it over to a new one. So I'm going to be seeing a new oncologist, a young guy. But anyway, I will go back and see him in 2 weeks. I will have whatever tests he wants me to have, and we will keep track of how this is doing. But so far, it's doing quite well. It's surprising, really, especially since I had 6 weeks off and not much happened to it. And hopefully that stays like that, especially with the chemo pills that I'm taking. So that is my stage 4 rectal cancer background and diagnosis. And in the future, I will be putting up more videos about it, keeping you guys up to speed on how it's going, how my treatments are going, what my treatments are, and we'll go from there. And I will talk in the future about other ailments that I have at the same time. It's crazy. But anyway, that is going to be it for me for this episode. Mr. Raz, Bob Zolke, and I will be talking to you again in the future.